There are a few things of note here, and I went ahead and pinned them one by one. I just went on my Twitter and bookmarked them. So now, people who are much more PlayStation aficionados are starting to talk about what Shuhei Yoshida said. A user on Twitter like Nib has gone to pull data about the sales of PlayStation games and how they've been, for the most part, the single player games, profitable for PlayStation on the short term. In some cases, the data sets that he pulled out were even things like presentations. And for those of you who've been telling me that my Insomniac leak document has been false, I hope you go do your homework to figure out where Nib got these data sets from because, yeah. However, this is him in response to what Shuhei Yoshida said. You see, right now, Shuhei's interview has been very inflammatory, especially to the conversation. He went ahead and said a few things on this kind of funny podcast that has basically taken the internet by storm. Not only that, it seems like those people who coordinated that fake article from the information did not expect this particular paradigm, nor did they expect the cancellation of many of these live service games that were in the works in PlayStation. And there's a relationship. Let's listen to what Shuhei says here in this 25-second clip. Shout out to Everborn who put it out here.
That they can forecast game sales, right?
Yeah.
Who would have predicted Helldivers 2 would sell more than Spider-Man 2, right?
Not me.
So that's the nature of the business. So of course, we look at the commercial side of things, but in the end, you have to trust your guts. So,
and Everborn writes and says, this, in my honest opinion, is a strong data point in favor of day and date PC releases. Now, Paris Denard actually quotes Everborn. He cites his tweet and says, we're in an era where you need to put your games on as many devices as possible to capture the biggest audience as possible. Xbox is obviously headed that way. Xbox has actually been there for a long time. PlayStation is slowly but surely headed that way too. Sorry, it's cut off on the side. Nintendo remains the outlier. Their days are numbered. I've said it before. Brand loyalty and egos aside, this is good for consumers and the industry. Now, it seems like there are schools of thought saying, in one hand, exclusivities in the single player side are profitable for PlayStation, of which these aren't exclusive games anyways. Like exclusive games anyways are profitable for PlayStation. I say exclusivity. And in another hand, there's a school of thought saying that, well, it appears that this whole exclusivity thing has been a wash and Xbox having been there is benefiting from there. On the other hand, it seems like the live service push that PlayStation had actually implemented seems like it wasn't really too confident in its exclusivity pursuit because it moved, and I'd mentioned this in many videos, its live service offerings from about 88%. That was the big, smoking gun, was when PlayStation decided that it was going to change its traditional investing from around 88% and move that to 40%, while at the same time, it went ahead and moved its live service investment from 12% and is moving it to 60%. At some point, they even went ahead and talked about how they were going to cut their live service calendar in half and release the games in a longer stretch of time. So even when people are looking at these lists, one thing stands out, and that's this. According to Reddit here, they said PlayStation was planning to release at least 12 live service games. But when making the list on stream, it's actually more than that. Only 3 have released so far. 1 was released and quickly shut down. 7 have been canceled. Another 7 we're still waiting on. That's a lot. So the calendar is only that they were going to unveil and release 12 of them, and that was the plan. But now that they've canceled some others, there are still 7 in the pipeline that are still coming to light. And the question of whether or not PlayStation is going to back away from this live service thing is no longer one you need ask, because more live service games are coming down the pipeline. There are folk across the board who have said this is probably a good thing, this is, not a good thing, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, there's money that PlayStation is seeking and needs to make. And another thing that the school of thought is not considering when it comes down to the potential profitability of the single player games is, on the long run, after the game sales have tapered off, what kinds of earnings do you see down the road? In fact, if we look at this little chart here that Nib he posts, yeah, you all know where you got it from, right? Yeah, thank you very much. You'll realize that the year one and year two sales of these titles are drastically reduced. Now, this is natural. This is a natural progression with many games, if not any game at this point. However, the one thing is these games are one and dones, and the year two sales versus the year one sales are, in a sense, very much influenced by the price points about on those games. Basically, sales are coming in, and so even though someone may buy it for $70 on year one or $60 year one, they may be buying it for $30 year two, and then down the road it's probably 10, 15, 20. Maybe even some people are going to GameStop and buying traded in copies of the game that the money is not going to PlayStation. The difference, nonetheless, is that live service games, their monetization structure can be way better in the sense that, like a game Destiny, can launch an expansion right on top of the already base game, leveraging the already established audience, and then sell that expansion for $99 and tell everybody, hey, come and play new content that we've brought here for you. This is exactly the paradigm that the live service games actually bring into the conversation that has been attractive to PlayStation, because they see other companies, including some right underneath their nose, enjoying this particular benefit. And so at the end of the day, PlayStation needs these live service games. Like, if it doesn't have these live service games, with the increasing cost of game development that you are seeing everywhere, that Shui Yoshida cites, and everyone already kind of knows, this is not new to anybody, they're going to be in a very weird place. This is the reality of the gaming industry, and their competition, Xbox, has already basically blazed past them. The reality has always been here. I'm just so surprised that many people are finally starting to see it. Even on the PlayStation side, some PlayStation fans can't even bring themselves to admit the truth that, hey, PlayStation has basically dropped the ball because it did not take its investments, and it doesn't believe in them, because what it's looking for is looking for a lightning in the bottle. That's also another approach that it's trying to take. It doesn't have enough patience from the investment side to want to sit there and actually cultivate a live service presence, or cultivate, a community, and bring their games up to speed. It's this particular, strategy that's also, in a sense, kicking them in. Then their games are of some of the highest, shiniest quality that you've ever seen. But at the end of the day, they're not really the 25 million, in sales type of games. In one hand, from an artistic perspective, many players are not, resonating with it. I mean, think about, say, a game like Horizon Forbidden West. Everybody kind of looked at it and went, right? I mean, it sold decently well, but it wasn't really some big deal. But you have to understand that that same year, Elden Ring came out. People aren't pointing out to the reality. Elden Ring came out from an artistic perspective. It was basically Dark Souls 4 and bodied that game. Simply got bodied by Elden Ring. And that game basically is the 25 million copy game and is growing. And now they have a, attack on game on top of it. Something that PlayStation should have been doing. And this is something that I want to go ahead and basically highlight in my next video. So thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.